So welcome everyone to this call, and thanks a lot for attending. I always say this, every year that to our two people, our two applicants, that this year there is no Diwali or Christmas or anything for you because our two applications coincide with all these festivals. So thanks a lot for coming. And I am doing it for the first time. I have had more than 40 to 50 sessions one-to-one with successful admits. For the first time, I am calling all of them together. Everyone that I had invited has joined, so I'm very happy, except Himanshu. Uh, his mother is hospitalized, unfortunately, so couldn't join. But Himanshu is not a recent admit. Himanshu is an IIMA PGPX alum. So, I mean, and we have already done an info session with Himanshu. We have a recording. We will share it later. But I'm very glad all the 6 admits have joined. So I will first uh, ask everyone, I mean, all these 6 people to unmute themselves, also switch on the video and introduce themselves. You have to tell your name, of course, just 1 or 2 sentences about profile and your GMAT or GRE score, just so that these guys know that, who exactly you are, with what kind of profile you went to IIM Ahmedabad. Also, if you're a reapplicant, and like what was your score. So yeah, Ankit, can I request you to start? We'll go alphabetically. So
So, everyone, I'm Ankit. In my BTech in electrical engineering, I'm passed out of 2019, and after that, I started working with in the automotive industry. I have an overall of 5 years of work ex across the automotive and e-commerce supply chain, and my GRE score is 325. And yeah, that's all about myself.
was it your first attempt?
Yeah, this is the first attempt.
Okay.
First attempt at IIMA, and so I started with GMAT and GRE, so like, there's a whole lot of journey over there. But yeah, with the application, it was the first attempt. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, Atul, can you please introduce yourself? Atul, can you hear me? Can you unmute and okay.
Hey, sorry, I was just trying to join from my laptop. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hey everyone. So my name is Atul Santosh. I am a mechanical engineer from NIT Calicut. I passed out in the year 2019. I have roughly around 5.5 years of experience so far. 2 of them were in sales, and the last 3 years I've been working at Swiggy Instamart. I have a GMAT score of 700.
Classic GMAT, right?
Classic GMAT, yeah.
Please say that. Classic GMAT.
Yeah, classic GMAT 700. Yeah.
Okay. That's great, Atul. Karan, can you please introduce yourself?
Not audible, Karan.
Karan, is he not in the call? He was in the call.
No, he's there. I think he's not audible.
Karan, we can't hear you. Karan, we can't hear you. While Karan is setting his laptop and all, Rashi, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. Anshul, can you confirm if I'm audible and visible?
Yes. Very much.
Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Rachri, and I have a very diverse profile. I graduated from Delhi University with a bachelor in commerce in 2019. I worked for 2 years as an audit associate at EY, and then I did my fellowship from Teach for India. Currently, I'm working as a business development associate at one of the research consultancy in New Delhi. I gave GRE. My GRE score was 321, surprisingly, and I am also a reapplicant this time. So last time I applied in R3, this time I applied in R1. So that's that. Over to you, Anshul.
So just to this, I just talked to Rashi 2 minutes ago, and I really want to tell everyone, because Rashi's story is so motivating for other people. First, She has a very horribly complicated profile. So complicated that we had to sit separately for many hours, at least 2 times, just to fix her short-term and long-term goal. Even then, to be very frank, I am confessing I was not very sure if it will work out or not. Because even I was so confused what to write and how will she be able to convince and justify her short-term and long-term goal. But she did. That is 1 second. People say, ki, oh, I was rejected last year and should I apply immediately or not? There is no change in her profile. For Rashi, there was absolutely no change in her profile. She tried her best to increase her GRE at least. She couldn't increase that as well. She applied with same GRE. She applied with same profile. Just she applied in a better way this year. So, and her GRE was lower. Many people don't even apply with that lower GRE. They cancel it. They keep sitting on a lower GRE thinking nothing will happen. But she applied with full conviction. And again, Russia, this is the first time I'm telling, but I'm very, very proud of you. And, I told you are a star panelist today, and you will be motivating a lot of people today. Okay, thank you. Karan, is everything okay? Then can you unmute yourself and, uh, please introduce yourself? Karan, can you hear me? What is happening? Okay, no problem. Swati, can we start with you?
Actually, hi, Ashwin. Actually, I'm having some issues with my camera.
No
So I
problem.
can,
Yeah,
in this meeting, I will speak. I'm an orthodontist by profile, and I've had around 5 years of work experience post my post-graduation. My classic GMAT score was 730. And basically, that's about it. Currently, I'm working as a gazetted government officer for the government of Uttar Pradesh.
as a medical officer, right?
Yeah, as a medical officer, Delhi.
And last but not the least, Vamsi. Vamsi was the last one to join me. And I don't know where he came from. I don't know who added him to the group. And he decided at the last moment to join. And I'll be very frank, I was not happy with the mock that he gave to me. But then I received a very good feedback from the other alum. So I was very conflicted. I was not sure what he's going to do because there were two conflicting feedback. Then he later told me after getting an admittential that day with you, I was really tired. So that's why the mock went really bad. So that's the only thing I know about Vamsi. So Vamsi, please introduce yourself for me and for everyone else.
Hello everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, yes. You
My name is Vamsi Antakula. I'm born and brought up in Visakhapatnam, Andhra Pradesh. I work with TVS Motors Company in the electric vehicle R&D product development space for 4 years now. And my GMAT score is 675. It is a GMAT Focus Edition. Pretty much.
Thanks for sharing that. Karan, I think you have joined from a mobile now. Can you try to speak? You are on mute. You are on mute. You have to unmute yourself. Now you're unmuted. Can you try to speak now?
Yeah.
Correct.
Am I audible now?
Yes, you are.
Yes. I'm sorry for the confusion. So I'm Karan Sarpal. I graduated as a chemical engineer in 2017 from Vellore Institute of Technology. Since then, I've been working with Reliance Industries Limited for the last 7.5 years. This was my first time applying to IIMA's PGPX program. And I applied through a GRE score of 320. I've had two major stints in my last 7 years. The first 4 years in core manufacturing as part of Reliance's operations in Jamnagar. And the last 3.5 years in the corporate strategy office in Chairman's office here in Mumbai.
Two things I wanted to point about Karan, and that is again really, really motivating for me and for everyone else. One, his GRE is low. I mean, 320 for a male engineer is low. Let's accept it. Second, he had horrible, horrible working schedules. Matlab, most of the time he was not available to, kind of work on his applications. But he still pushed himself to the core and he still did it. That too in his first attempt. That too with a lower GRE. So again, I hope his story would be very, very motivating for other people. In fact, I'm giving his examples to other people right now who complain about their work schedule. I'm literally giving his example, saying that that guy works for Mukesh Ambani and he's literally like toiling day in and day out, and he's still doing the assignments, he's still submitting the drafts, he's still doing the mocks somehow with me, with the alums. So again, this is like an indirect message to some of the people who have joined, who I know who have personally given me excuses of having horribly long schedules. But again, guys, you are not doing it for anyone else. You're doing it for yourself. You're not doing any favors to me by pushing yourself. If you will do well and if you will get a seat, it will benefit you, not me. So please take accountability of whatever you are doing, and please push yourself for whatever time is remaining for round 2 and round 3. Okay, now we are done with the introduction. I will just take 15 minutes to ask a few questions to all of you, and then I will keep it open to everyone for the questions to ask. IIM Ahmedabad is famous or infamous for a very grilling interview. Now, in this panel today, I know a majority of you got very grilling interviews, while for some of you like Vamsi and Swati, the interview was very chill. So I'd first want to know from the people who got a very grilling interview experience, how was the experience? What trending instant? Swati, please, sorry, Swapnil, please mute yourself. Yeah. Don't make me throw you out of the session. Okay, so Karan, I think yours was very yeah, grilling. So would you want to start with your experience?
So, since I'm working currently as part of Chairman's office, I mean, while I had given my mock with you and with the other two alums, I think I was mentally prepared that my interview was going to be extremely grilling, because the kind of role that I'm undergoing right now and the position I'm at, wo aane hi wala tha. But I mean, I didn't expect them to go into, the depths of understanding if my experience is actually what I'm saying it to be. That's exactly what. So now that I kind of gauge and I try to understand how it went and why it went the way it did, that's what I understand. They wanted to understand whether what I'm actually saying in my profile and the kind of experiences that I've had working directly with chairman, is it true, or is he just kind of faking it or something like that? So my interview went on for almost, I guess, 55 minutes,
oh my God.
Which is kind of extremely unusual for IIM Ahmedabad.
Yes.
I kind of had prepared for 20-25 minutes at the max, but it went up to 50 minutes. And I was also the first candidate they had after lunch. So I really don't know how that 50 minutes, kaise wo 50 minutes chala, but wo chala 50 minutes. So we started with the extempore. At each point in time during my interview, they were trying to sway me away from my thought process and the ideology that I had in each and everything I was saying. So what I gauge from that now is they wanted to see whether I'm, sure about my opinion, or am I just getting swayed by what they are trying to say, because they were saying it in a very convincing way, but at the same time they were not giving me hints whether what they're saying is correct or incorrect. So, for example, they would make a statement and they would say, "Ki, do you think it is, an objective or a subjective decision basis which, something can work?" So examples like that, were what I had gone through during my interview. The extempore was okay. I think you've already given a list of topics, and I think it's more than sufficient to kind of, if someone's gone through that list of topics, I think it's sufficient to kind of prepare. The only thing is, if there is some current news or something else that's going on around in the world at that point in time, it'll be worthwhile to kind of go through that and then be prepared on those lines as well, because you might get an offhand topic which maybe you're not really aware of. So in the morning, so I was in the afternoon session. In the morning session, there was one person who was asked the differences and advantages, disadvantages between BS4 and BS6 vehicles in India.
Oh my God.
So
I don't even know what.
So for a person who's not coming, say, from refining or petrochemicals like me, or maybe someone who's not from automotive, they won't have an idea on this. But it's kind of a recent development in the past few years in the economy. So वैसे type के topics भी were kind of discussed in the extempore. So it's worthwhile कि last 2-3 साल में जो government ने initiatives दिए and developments हैं, people should be aware of all of those things. coming to the main interview, they didn't ask me anything from my application as such. It was mostly about what I'm doing, what my business does, and if I'm really well aware of what my business, in Reliance, what they are doing as such, because Reliance is into multiple businesses. So, and since I'm in the corporate office and I claim to be, part of chairman's office and I know all of the businesses, they wanted to check whether I really know all of the businesses or not. So they asked me questions on each and every aspect of the business, why, certain decisions Reliance had made in the past in terms of the upstream business or the new energy business that we're getting into. Things like how is Geo kind of, maintaining its tariffs and its position in the country? Is it really ethical? Is it not ethical of what we're doing? So at any point in time, they were trying to, catch me to the place that I would, say that what the company is doing is something that I don't believe in. That's kind of what they wanted to get out of my answers. But fortunately, I knew my answers well. I was well prepared with what I wanted to say, and it really helped me that way. So for me specifically, they went into the depths of understanding what my company's business is. And since I'm working in strategy and I want to continue in strategy, they wanted to understand what strategy and vision means to me. So say, for example, what is Reliance's vision in the long term?
Yeah.
What is the strategy that you have to, keep up with global players, keep up with, emerging trends, changing technologies and all of those things? Indirectly or directly, they were trying to ask such questions to me. And I mean, that was mostly about it. And at the end, I think one of the questions that the very standard question, they themselves said that we don't know whether we want to ask this or not, but a very generic question is why IIM Ahmedabad and why PGPX. So even if you kind of feel that your interview is going to be based on your profile and all of those things, standard questions will definitely be asked. वो हमेशा रहेगा, and it's extremely important to be prepared. And I think when I had my mock with you, that's when I actually got to know what I really need to say. I was a little underprepared on this question because I was focusing more on preparing on my profile and on my resume, and not realizing that standard questions also come in at a very.
There is a reason they are called standard questions, right? Because they are very common.
Correct.
Right. Okay. Karan, one thing I wanted you to highlight for everyone: what is the content ratio between extempore and actual interview? कितने देर तक extempore चला, कितने देर तक actual interview चला?
I think 55 minutes था, तो 15 minutes का 10-15 minutes extempore and balance of the time was of the regular interview.
And you said that they did not ask anything from the application, but then you also said they asked about your goals.
Right. So I mean, so they didn't directly ask me ki, what are your long-term and short-term goals. So it didn't come out that way, but it came out in a way that I work in the oil and gas sector, and everyone knows that with moving technology and there's adoption of electric vehicles and sustainable movement and all those things, the oil industry is at some point in time going to go down. So they asked this question on goals and what I want to do in the future, and in this aspect, what do you feel about your industry and where do you see yourself sustaining in such an environment? That's how they put it across. So I kind of had to frame my answers saying ki, I'm wanting to stay in this industry. I know that the industry is going to go down, but in the 10-15 years, in the short and long-term goals that I'm aspiring to kind of achieve, my industry is going to sustain in a way. So during this entire conversation as to how my industry will sustain and all of those things, beach mein, these questions were coming up that you want to be. So I had mentioned that in the long term, I want to head the strategy division of a global energy company, say for example, Shell or BP.
Yeah.
So when I had mentioned this, or maybe when they said the industry itself is going to go down, so how are you going to be the strategy head of a company?
Right.
That's how it was coming out. It wasn't direct कि अपने goals explain करो या contribution explain करो या challenges explain करो, but more to do with more of an interactive and an engaging conversation where these topics were brought out in a way or so. That's how it went.
Anything you would want to add as a tip to everyone? Because there are some R2 applicants, some R3 applicants here, and there are people who will be applying next year.
So I think one of the major things is be extremely confident in what you're saying. Because they will for sure try to sway your answers. They want to gauge whether you can maintain your thought process and your perception about something, but at the same time you have to remain extremely humble about their opinion as well. So whenever I was answering, I was making sure that I structured my answers in a way saying ki, I get your point, I see where you're coming from, I respect your opinion, but at the same time this is what I feel, and this is how I feel is going to happen in the future, or things like that. So that's how I had approached my answers when I was giving a response to their counters. Second, at the same time, although I've said that they didn't directly pinpoint things from my application or my resume, but in a way they gauged everything that they could without looking at that piece of paper. Because they asked me questions in depth about my business and the work that I'm doing.
Yeah, they must have already read it before you.
They would have read it. They would have read it for sure. But matlab ye hai ki they didn't say ki, in your resume you've written this, and in your application you had mentioned this. It comes up indirectly throughout the conversation.
That happens more at IISB. It never happens in IIM Ahmedabad. They indirectly pick up, not directly. Okay.
So I think that was about it.
Great. Thanks a lot, Karan. Now I'll move to the next person. So Rashi, can you please share your experience, what was happening in this interview and the last interview, that R3 Ahmedabad just few months ago you did, and then this year you did with again, I repeat, the same profile, almost same. Of course, application was different, but this time you applied with a better clarity with your post MBA goal. So how was it? How was it this time versus last time?
Okay. So last year I was really focused on the score part of my application. I firstly also I gave GMAT where I did horribly bad, and I wasn't able to take my score higher, and I was always in the low 600s and everything. So then I switched to GRE at that time, and I got a good score that time. And I tried to take it higher, again, focusing too much on score, not focusing on my application. And I want to reiterate to all the people joining here that your goals, your post MBA goal and your long term goal play a very, very important role in terms of making or breaking it. Secondly, my experience at that time was, as I mentioned before, that it was R3. And it's all like a sham that R3 mein farak nahi padta. It's always equal. I don't think so. I feel that in R3 you have very, very less chances of converting. So that was that. Plus, I wasn't that prepared for how the interview will look like. Of course, I gave too many mock interviews with the alums, with people I know, and I was very underconfident at that time as well. I didn't know whether I would be able to, convince the panel or not. It was horribly grilling. I mean, with every point there was confrontation, cross questioning, grilling, insult, even at the last.
What?
I know, I remember.
Insult?
Yeah. So
Last year?
basically, last year, yes, in R3. I remember for one of the points that I spoke. So they were like, huh, ye to ho hi nahi sakta. Like they were on my face for the last point that I said, and it was really kind of insulting. And I know that happens in IIMs, you can expect that, but you should know how to stand your ground. Even at that point, they try to look for things like how is the candidate taking even that part of the interview as well. Last year, my extempore also was, I wasn't prepared for the extempore as well. Very unexpected topic, like it was from 2 or 3 years back. This topic was not at all hot. So overall, last year, I was very much focused on score. I didn't prepare my application really well. I wasn't clear on what goals I really wanted to go forward for. I wasn't prepared for the interview as such. But this year, I did a lot of prep. To all the people joining, again, I want to share this. Second point is that please be thorough with your goals, with what are you looking forward to out of the college itself. Because they are here not just to admit you, but they are also looking forward to seeing how will you use the resources of the college. Because 150 students, why would they take you if you don't know what you're looking out of the college and how it will help you indirectly towards your goals? So that research I did for a long period of time. I took help from Anshul as well. So I knew him from the last year. I knew one of my TFI fellows who converted ISB. And from there, I knew that there was Faith Careers and the whole ecosystem that Anshul has created. So
Your profile had a lot of similarity with that girl.
yeah,
She also
actually,
had the same issue ki what to write in post MBA goal. It has become so confusing. And I remember I sat with her for 1 hour just before her interview, one day before her interview. Yogita, right? We're talking about.
yeah, Yogita, yeah.
And even then I was not sure, but she goes and she converts. So I'm very, very happy that you also converted eventually, sooner or but later. Also, it was not that late. R3 versus R1 is fine. I mean, it's
I
okay.
mean, yeah.
It's-
Actually, but it makes a world of a difference actually. That in the rounds that you're applying for, I worked with Anshul for ISB. For IIM Ahmedabad, I was kind of dicey that my first preference was ISB, but then IIM
Okay, now I
Ahmedabad,
want to ask, what are you thinking now? Are you applying to ISP? You have an interview invite, I know that.
I did go for the interview. I applied for ISP. I did appear for the interview. I'm just waiting for the results.
Okay, your
So
interview is over, right, for ISP?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, let's see.
So
That if you convert 320 ISP, you will be like again one of my star students, like Anushila was last year, because she also converted ISP with a 320.
hoping
And
to. Yeah.
what are the tips you would want to give to people?
Hmm. So this year again, I mean, for GRE, I feel any score above 320 is good. Focusing a lot on essays, your post MBA goals, very, very important. Your profile, your story has to be weaved in such a way that Anshul mentioned before as well, that my story was very like zigzag. And last year I didn't know how to present it. This year I did thorough research, as one would consider itni diverse profile, how could you? But yes, I am the example that such diverse profiles can also make it to IIM Ahmedabad, and let's hope ISB as well. But yes, you have to make your story so compelling that and so reasonable that even if in cross questions you are able to stand your ground. My extempore was very confrontational, very much grilling. For every point there was cross questioning. I'm talking about this time. And then interview again, cross question for each and everything that I was speaking. Be prepared for that. IIM Ahmedabad interview is meant to be that way. My interview went for around 40 minutes.
Oh.
So yeah, take help from whoever you can. Anshul is a great mentor for interviews. You should take help from IIM Ahmedabad alums as well. I took a lot of help from them. They will provide you that clarity in terms of even if you are good at confidence and communication, you get a lot of clarity on how should I present my story, how do I stand my ground. That's the most important thing. And of course, extempore for the girls who are joining here, the women who are applying for R2 or R3 in Ahmedabad, even if you manage the extempore very well, your interview will depend on how good you have managed the extempore. So be prepared for that as well. And yeah, I think that's that. The essays, your goals play a very important role. And of course, that will justify how well you are able to portray in your interviews. So, yeah.
Thanks a lot, Rashi, for sharing. Ankit, can you share your experience? It was first time for you. It was first time for you to apply to any school, any business school. So how was everything?
Sure, Anshul. I'm audible?
Yeah, you are.
Oh, cool. So, like this was my first experience with the entire application. And although not from the application front, because my friend has also applied last year and she made it, so I had a bit of experience as far as the interview and the applications were concerned. So I did not have any peculiar thing in the interview. So it was in Bangalore on 6th of October, and I had very chill interview. It was in the morning, first session.
Oh, so your interview was the chill one.
Very chill, very chill.
Okay.
I would say like there were two professors, and the temperament was same. That one was continuously asking, and the other one was
Noticing.
monitoring the responses and the observing the maybe how I was responding and everything. And so it started with Extempore. It lasted, I think the overall interview lasted for 25 minutes, I would say. And Extempore lasted for 10 minutes, and the rest of the 15 minutes for the questions based on profile. And my topic in Extempore was something on the lines of AI. What is the use of AI, and do you think how is it going to, is the concern around AI really authentic, and is it like that? So you can speak for 2-3 minutes, and then there would be cross questions from the professors, so be prepared for that. And I did not have any standard questions. Like usually we have prepared these standard questions like introduce, self-introduction, why MBA, why IIMA. I did not have those kind of questions. And so it started with the profile based, because I have like I worked in automotive industry initially, then moved on to the e-commerce. So they were questioning, why did you move to e-commerce suddenly after working for 4.5 years? And so like there were usual profile based questions. Why supply chain? Like, what do you understand about? So my profile is in supply chain, and so they questioned about this. And currently I'm working in a startup, so they were curious about what Wakefit is doing. And so I did not find anything disturbing, particularly very like what I've heard from responses from other interviews. So I think that's all about from my interview.
Any tips you would want to give, because you went through the entire process with me? You started early.
Yeah.
You also did everything I asked you to.
Yeah.
So any tips you'd
I
want to
think
give?
the basic tip would be to stick to the basics. I think you cannot judge an interview based on one's experience. So first thing would be to cover all the basics. That is, if you're done with the applications, go thoroughly with your essays and whatever you have mentioned in the application. Even if you have mentioned something which you have not done, be prepared to answer for it. At least you should prepare for that. And once applications are done, there are 3 basic questions. Prepare for them, and yeah, that's all I think. And yes, I think for the IIMs, the general awareness is something that is very much required. Although I was not asked, particularly in IIM Ahmedabad, but prior to that, in IIM Code's interview, it was asked about, because
Just to
back
let
then.
everyone know, Ankit cleared IIM Code also, PGPBL.
So I think it was in August, and it was then when budget had released. So they had asked one question on the budget. So like keep the general awareness things ready with you. I mean, they're not going to ask you the facts and figures, but they will be mostly concerned about your opinion on them, on the recent events. That same thing goes with the Extempore as well. So yeah, I think just be prepared with everything that you mentioned in the application. That's all.
Thanks for sharing. Swati, if you are here, can you please share your experience? Your interview was very chill. So just wanted to know what exactly did they ask, what was the demeanor and everything.
Yeah. Am I audible, Anshul?
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, I think for certain profiles like mine, they already had a preconceived view that probably they were going to take me. And that is what I gauged right from the starting.
Okay.
But because the interview went on for like 15 minutes, therefore I ended up being confused as to how it went. Because 15 minutes is too less for an IIM Ahmedabad interview, which usually is around 25 to 30 minutes.
Okay.
So the starting was an extempore, and they were quite satisfied with the answer. So there was no cross questioning, basically, just a follow-up question.
Okay.
Do you want me to share the extempore topic with you? Because it's not the same as it was the last year. The topics have changed, but it was very general, very general. Then they were asking me as to why I was planning on shifting my field altogether, because I'm already a postgraduate in my field and I have a respectable job. That were 2 questions that were follow-up questions, because they were like, why are you wanting to transition and let go of all your training? So that was something that was really a point of contention for them. And then they wanted to, when I told them that I want to be healthcare consultant, not very sure on that, but that is the presentation I gave them. That is what I had written. So I couldn't have changed my stance. They really wanted to push me into something like, why don't you go for entrepreneurship because you are already a postgraduate? And so basically, I think you have to hold your ground. And then I gave a very generic view that because I already have a background in private and public healthcare both. So I come from a niche where usually you wouldn't find a healthcare person who's been and seen both the sides of both the spectrums, the private and the private and the personal and the public. So they were very satisfied with that answer. I did mess up on a question or two, but then it was extremely chill. Like it was very general. I
Do you
think the
think they had already read your application before your interview?
Yeah, actually, they do take some time, around 5 to 10 minutes before every participant. Plus, they have every profile that they're going to interview. So, they have like 4 panels they had in Delhi. Each panel had 2 interviewees. Most of them are in the capacity of an associate or above. The people who interviewed me, one was Dr. Ankit, if I'm not wrong. So, he's a chairperson of PGP. So, like people of repute. The other was a professor of economics, Dr. Satish Deodhar. So, Dr. Ankur Sinha is one of the most renowned faculty members that they have there. And they had read the profile, not very thoroughly though, but they had a fair idea.
Okay.
Because they were scrolling through the profile before they were asking every person to enter. They were taking their own 10 minutes before every person was made to enter. And both of them were very chill. And yeah, obviously they do try to sway the questions in their way, and then they try to poke you on certain things, but that is how they work. One thing that is quite similar to my profession is that because coming from a background, from the medical background, I don't work on a first name basis.
Yeah.
And IIM professors, they expect that kind of respect. So yeah, you cannot be you have to be very contained and very, like a demeanor, and your personality has to be very respectful and receptive. So even if you make a blunder, just respect them and be respectful and acknowledge your mistake, and then be fine with it.
Okay.
I don't think show off or trying to be too cool about yourself is going to get you anywhere, because as far as IIM Ahmedabad is concerned, because alumni now is not taking your interview, they're very renowned in their own space. So even if you are an IAS, they're not going to put you on a pedestal.
Yes.
And I've spoken to certain people who cleared UPSC and have been to IIMs. In the last few weeks, I've been trying to do that. So there are certain people who are from the UPSC also, but they had a similar opinion that you have to be extremely courteous and put your point across. And even if there's cross questioning, you have to maintain your stand. And as I think Karan already pointed out, just be like, I beg to differ. What I see where you're coming from.
Be very respectful.
Respect is very important. And everything that's extremely important is to maintain your cool.
Of course.
Go with your attitude, because what I see is, I might be wrong, I haven't been in this process for long. But what I feel is that once you come to the interview for an IIM, your actual GMAT score does not matter to them. A person who
that
has
is
a
clear
730
from
from a
today's
medical
session.
background, 730 medical background, quite decent. I'm not trying to brag about it. From a medical background, it's quite decent.
Yeah.
Even if you have a 650, I would have had the same chance, I think. Once
Yes.
you make it to the interview, it's a fresh slate because the professors are viewing it and the entire emphasis is on the interview only. And I think also that they give you like 3 or 4 minutes. I did not take that time to jot down my points. They were impressed with that too. I wouldn't recommend it to everybody else because everybody functions in their own way, but they were like very fast with your interview, very fast with the thought process. So that is how it works. Actually, it was so chill now that I cannot actually be helpful to the other people around because it's a very different profile. Yeah, one thing they did ask is that the last question that they ask you, it's better that you ask a follow-up question, because they'll always ask you that what do you expect from here?
Yeah.
Do you think we'll be able to bridge the gap that you are trying to fill in your skill set? And what will you do if you don't end up with a placement the kind of placement that you're hoping for? So do you have a backup option? That is something they ask from people who are from niche profile.
Yes, they had asked this question to Sindhura last year, and Sindhura also made it to, Sindhura had a similar profile as yours, but she also made it to IIM Ahmedabad with a 680, which is very lower than yours. So again, reiterating what Swati said, once you have, it is only true for IIM Ahmedabad, not for ISB at all. Once you are on that chair interview, it depends on the interview. Your score does not.
Actually, the big difference is that ISB interview is taking the alumni. You cannot place so much trust in the alumni that the entire admission is dependent on them.
Correct.
But when a chairperson of a PGP is coming, just by the sake of the fact that he's coming, he'll have want that, that kind of recognition. So वो होगा ही. Alumni faculty की difference है. So apart from that, yeah, I think general awareness is very important because the questions, extempore questions are very generic, but it's always better to have a balanced approach. Like, don't take either of the options, neither for nor against. Try to come up with points for both of them. So that is the kind of stance they'll do. If you go for, then they'll give you points against it. If you go for the point that is against the stance, then they'll give you points for it. So always start with that. I would want to take a balanced approach, and I feel that this is what goes for the topic. But then there are certain things that deserve their due consideration. That will make for a wholesome extempore topic. And if that goes well, then everything else is more of a conversation. And they really want to know that what are you expecting from the program. That is something that they're very concerned about.
Ria, please mute yourself. Okay. Atul, would you want to share your experience before we finally move to Vamsi?
Hey, sure. Okay. So my interview happened on the 5th of October. It was a Saturday. It was the afternoon session. It was at 2:30 in Bangalore. So one tip that I would have for anyone taking the interview in Bangalore, plan your trip in advance, because I planned with a 30-minute buffer and I reached exactly at 2:30 when they were calling candidates to the room.
Bangalore,
so I would probably, yes, yeah, it was raining that day and there was some terrible traffic. So I got there just in time. I would recommend everyone plan a 1 hour buffer in Bangalore before you get there. My interview went on for around 30 minutes. There were 2 panelists. It was very conversational. The moment I stepped into the room, I understood that they had read my profile just before, because even before I sat down, he asked me a question regarding the number of people I was managing in my previous role, and then how I shifted to a role where I had no people reporting to me. So even before I sat down in my chair, this is the question he asked me. And once I sat down, it was they gave me my topic. I picked it out from the bowl over there. It was regarding censorship in social media.
Yeah.
I thought about the topic for around 40 seconds to 1 minute. I wrote down a few points and I began speaking before they told me that the time was up. Then I spoke for around a minute and a half, probably not long enough. I don't think I put my best effort over there. Probably not my best impression over there. But yeah, they quickly moved on to questions. They had a few questions regarding how Swiggy, since I work at Swiggy Instamart, they had a few questions regarding censorship and reviews being posted in Swiggy, Zomato, and other online forums that are there. Then most of the questions that they asked me in the next 10 to 15 minutes sort of related to my profile, and it was an intersection between the extempore topic. So I feel that the interview went hand in hand, where they combined my application as well as the extempore topic. So it was primarily the first panelist who was asking me the questions, and then towards the end, the second professor as well began asking me a few other questions. Like everyone else mentioned, the main purpose of them asking me questions was to try and deviate me from my opinion. So I was against the topic, where I said that I am against censorship. And they kept asking me questions that would sort of deter me from that point, and to see if I would move away. They asked me a few extreme scenarios as well, where I, at that moment, thought that it would be better for me to continue sticking to my stance and justify it as best as possible. And I think that worked out in my favor. At that moment, I thought that if I deviate from my point of view midway while questioning, it might not reflect well on me as a personality. They also asked me a very specific question from profile, which which is very related to censorship. Then I accidentally mentioned the term ethics, and the conversation went on in the direction of ethics in a professional scenario. I have worked on a tobacco-related product, so they took the conversation in that direction, where he did not, he kept asking me questions and poking me about how tobacco is a very tricky subject. We should discourage it, and you are encouraging it. And the conversation went in a different
exactly
direction.
asked this question to you in the mock, if you remember.
Yes, yeah,
exactly
you did.
this.
Yeah. So that sort of questioning went on like back and forth over and over again. Then finally, I was able to convince him to some extent, I think. So he stopped asking me questions regarding that topic. Towards the end, they asked me why do I want to do an MBA, and they asked me if I have any further questions for them. And that was it. It was a very conversation. It was very back and forth. We were having a discussion. It was not a grilling interview at all.
Okay. Yours was not grilling.
No.
Any tips you would want to give to people?
So my extempore did not go so well in my opinion, possibly because I looked at all the topics and I was very overwhelmed. So I would tell others who are overwhelmed like me to sort of prepare maybe a structure to respond, because you cannot predict what question could be, what your body could be based on your opinion on the stance, and how you will conclude, because that itself will give you some amount of conversational talking points or some amount of time where they expect you to converse with them. So even if you do not know about the topic, at least you have a structure to frame your opinions, however limited that may be. So that would be my tip.
Okay, that's really useful. Yeah, I have because I do not really train anyone very hardcore in extempore, because no matter how much you train, you have no clue what topic is going to come. So I always say just use a structure and try to force fit your response in that structure for extempore, and just pray for the best. And then actually prepare for the profile from the application, because that is something that is still in your hand. Okay, thanks a lot, Atul. And we finally move to Vamsi. Vamsi, how was your experience? You told me it was very chill, very opposite to our experience of mock, because I was very disappointed with your mock. But
Yeah.
the alum from my team was very happy with you. So
Yeah.
I'm like, at as long as he gives an admit, I'm okay. So how was the experience?
So my interview was on 5th of October, 1:30 p.m. slot in Bangalore. So I reached well in before, and then I was waiting for like 1 hour there. I was second in the number for the panelist. So I was sitting for half an hour in the waiting room. So pretty much controlling my nerves and etc. because it's going for half an hour. So and then I went into the room, and then it was pretty conversational. So there's no much ups downs. So initially they started telling me like, okay, you work with TVS, you work in the EV space. So then they started telling me whether EVs are sustainable, even before starting the extempore. So and then this is a bit different, yeah. And then I started telling about some points regarding the same, and then I also backed up. And then they asked me, okay, start with extempore. So fortunately, it was closer to my domain. The topic was on sustainability over profitability. So so on the third or fourth point, I just kept EVs so that it will be a smooth transition to my domain.
Smart.
So yeah, so I talked about government policies, I talked about sustainability goals, and then I slowly went on to talk about the EVs front. Then they came on to tell that why hydrogen is not future, why don't you think hydrogen is not the future? And then they started asking me questions related to the patents I filed. For example, I mentioned that I filed 4 patents during my course of 4 years. So they really want to understand exactly whether you are I'm the real genuine person who has actually filed the patent. So they were very patiently listening to whatever I say. I didn't dwell much into technical, but I actually gave them the glimpse of understanding like how exactly the logic works, etc. And then the other point of view, the other professor asked me like, you are talking more about EVs. So let me give you one question. So the climate change is happening since for last 10,000 years, and it will be going to be happen for the next set of years. The EVs and batteries will not be that much effective, or that much, it will not help that much in the climate tech. So you need to support this statement. So it's like a bit counterintuitive. So I need to tell against EVs. So I took some time. I asked them, I need some time. It's a bit counterintuitive. So I took some 10 seconds, framed out some points, and then told them. They also actually came back with some more points, etc. And it was very light discussion what we had. So they were actually very, friendly in such a way, I can say. And it was just 20-25 minutes for the interview. And when I came out, I was very, very perplexed, like whether they have judged me properly, whether they have not kept me under stress or something, whether they failed, okay, you have a lower work ex bracket, so whether they have really considered me. So I was having a lot of, doubts on me. So I also messaged Anshul regarding the same, and a lot of other mentors. But I was very unsure about how interview went away. But yeah, according to me, I was able to, logically close all the points and try seeing the expression also on them. Like They also asked me about why PGPX now. They also asked me
Standard
why
questions.
yeah, why PGPX now? And then he asked me, why don't you apply outside? You have a good GMAT score. And then they also asked me what colleges you do apply, like, apart from A. So there are these questions. And also they told me like one set of question is like on what you don't like about yourself. Can you give me an example of that? So these are the questions lines, pretty much, comfortable questions as per se. And they asked me like what questions you have, like also asked me what questions I can ask. So I asked some few questions on the PGPX and how can I contribute back, being on the lower end of the work bracket. So they were very conversational, very friendly and light-hearted. But yeah, they also gave me good amount of counter questions in a very friendly way, not in like keeping on a stress and then negating each and every point. They are tried listening to me most of the time, and it was one-to-one conversation. It's like both on both sides. So it was not like the peeps who the feedback which I received from Delhi and other cities. Like it was very stressful, but it was not stressful because and the waiting room I was very preparing myself for the war. So when I went into, it's like more of a very different atmosphere, and it went well overall. This was the experience. Moreover, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I mentioned to everyone as well, that IIM Ahmedabad, it's like 60-40. 60% of the interviews are stress interviews, 40 are not. But you have to prepare for the worst.
Yeah.
I mean, you cannot go prepare while expecting that I will be lucky and it will be a chilled one. So you have to prepare for the worst. There is no other way around. ISB, I never prepare anyone for any stress interview because it's very rare at ISB that you'll be grilled. Very, very rare. But IIM Ahmedabad, it is common. So again, you got in with 15 to 20 minutes of interview, right? 15 to 20 minutes.
20 minutes, yeah, 20 minutes.
Swati's happened 15 minutes, while Karan's happened 45 to 50 minutes, he said. So there's we cannot conclude anything for IIM Ahmedabad. All you can do is to prepare well. Okay, now I will stop speaking. I will request people who are in the call to unmute themselves and ask the questions. Please use this opportunity to ask any kind of questions you might be having. There is no silly question. No one is judging you even if you ask a silly question, because there is no question which is silly. You might be sitting for interview in next few weeks. You might be a R3 applicant. You might be applying next year. But please, Ankit, if you see, Ankit's friend Priyanshi was my student last year, and he was the one who recommended Priyanshi to me. So he had been looking at Priyanshi's entire journey with me and eventually to IIM Ahmedabad. And Priyanshi went to IIM Ahmedabad with 324 in GRE with only 4 years of work ex. And he has been looking at her experience and taking motivation and help from her. And today he is going. So you might be a next year applicant, but it is good to get all your queries answered today. It will always help. So if you're here, even if you are a next year applicant, please ask any kind of question. I will not pitch in now. I would request all these 6 people to pitch in and answer your queries. I think I have given the rights to unmute and ask to everyone.
Hi, Rohan this side.
Yeah, Rohan.
I just have one question. So everyone talked about like panel asked mostly about the work ex and everything. Is there any chance they might ask about undergraduation question? So I actually shifted from electrical to computer side. So I'm not very well versed with the electrical subjects and everything. So can they deep dive in that and they might
So
ask like, why you
in
shifted?
my experience, I have not heard them asking about subject matter from your undergrad. They do it very commonly for PGP, for the 2-year MBA. They don't do it for PGPX, but that is my experience since coaching other people for 3-4 years. IIM Ahmedabad, I only started 3-4 years ago. But if other people, if you think they have asked you, please let me know. Did they
They
ask
did
something?
ask me, hi, Anshul, I would like to pitch in.
Yeah.
They did ask me questions from my commerce background, from my undergrad. Yes, there were 2 to 3 questions asked, like about working capital, because I studied commerce, so you should know working capital. And then the formula of operational efficiency, we've studied it in our last year of commerce. So I didn't remember at that time. And also they asked math questions, like 11th and 12th math questions from me. So that was my experience.
This year or last year?
This year.
Thanks for sharing, Rashi. That was really helpful. Anyone else experience the same, that they were asking questions from your undergrad or +2?
Oh, hi, can I question?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Rashi's panel was the same as mine. So the professors, one was an economist and the other was from the operations management department. So there they could draw a linkage because she had a commerce background, and there they had something to talk about. So I think that will actually depend upon whether the person that comes across to you in the panel has done the same kind of undergrad courses as you have. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a part of the
That's
interview.
very useful, Swati. I think you make a lot of sense. Because I have not heard the panel asking undergrad question. Anyone else? Atul, Vamsi, did they ask anything? Karan, Ankit, did they ask anything from undergrad?
Oh, no, they didn't ask anything from undergrad.
No, nothing.
Nothing.
Okay. But great question, Rohan. I hope you got your answer.
Thanks. I just have a follow-up question in this.
Please.
In case, like, if they ask and you're not comfortable with that, how should we deal with it? Like, if they any faced in this similar thing, did they like mention no, like we are not comfortable, or they just hypothesize some answer?
In my opinion, you should never give a wrong answer the moment you give. If you think that they already know the subject matter and they know it, that's why they're asking. That is for sure.
Okay.
If they themselves don't know, they will not ask. It's not good to give a wrong answer. You can respectfully say that I'm afraid I do not have cognition of this topic because I read it years ago. You can say that.
Okay. Thanks everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, Nilanjan.
Hey, hi Anshul. So I had a question for Karan. So Karan is also what I have heard. He's coming from a strategy background.
Yeah.
And like he's in a senior role. I do understand that, but just a question because like what I've understood from what you said that you have written that you want to be in a strategy heading strategy in a global oil and gas firm. So you're already working in a strategy role, and again you want to go into a strategy role. So how did you justify this as a like how IIM Ahmedabad is going to help you getting there? Like because the general question is like you're already in a strategy role. You'll be like somewhere for 3, 4 years, 5 years down the line. Anyway, you can go to that role without the without spending so much money, spending 1 year of opportunity cost. So how did you handle this?
So, I mean, I didn't have this question asked to me per se very specifically. But how I prepared for this was that, so I'm currently in a strategy role which looks at more from a domestic point of view, from an India point of view, and my prerogative was to expand my horizon from the domestic industry to the global industry, and kind of understand how global industry operations in oil and gas work. So what I had planned, if I would have been asked this question, was my understanding was that there are various forum of industry interactions related, sessions that you have at IIM Bangalore, at IIM Ahmedabad, sorry, um, which kind of give you an exposure to the various leads and people within your industry. You kind of get that global exposure from them as well. So that was one. I wanted to kind of get in touch with these people and understand how the industry works on at a global scale, and then kind of move into a role, say 10 years down the line. Second is through the Energy X Club and the Consultex Club, I wanted to have various sessions which could give me access to the global energy companies and get experts from those firms, specifically from the Energy X Club, which is related to my industry. So I wanted to organize those sessions, get in touch with those people, and kind of learn from them, and then move into such a role. The third thing was my journey from moving from strategy from domestic to the global market was that in the short term, I wanted to move to a consulting role. I want to move to a consulting role wherein I work as a general strategy consultant with McKinsey or such a firm, which gives me access to these companies at a global level. So I kind of get to work with them, try to understand how they work, what's the difference between a the India operations as well as the global strategy. Once I've done that, I've built my understanding of global operations. That's when I move, to a global strategy position in the long term. That's how I had backed up my, movement from strategy to strategy, but from domestic to global operations. So that's how I had kind of prepared for it.
One thing I wanted to point out here, whenever you are doing something like this, where your short-term post MBA goal is kind of similar or closer to your existing role, you need to do a lot of preparation. Last year we had a candidate, I forgot his name. He eventually got a 100% scholarship. He cracked ISB. Anmol Singhal. He cracked ISB and he also got a 100% scholarship at Georgia Tech Keller School of Business. So eventually went to US. He was already a product manager, and post MBA goal was also a product manager. The only difference was that he was a product manager for internal product at American Express. Internal product means a product made for employees, and he wanted to move to a B2C product like Swiggy, for example. So that they grilled him in ISP interview, and I had told him that they will grill you in this topic, and he had prepared for that. Whenever it is anyway, you have to prepare for post MBA goals. But if it is closer to what you're already doing, they will definitely it and ISB will also grill you on this topic. Why do you want to do this? Why do you want to spend so much of money? Why do you want to waste 1 year if you're already doing something similar? Spend some more year in the industry and rise in the corporate ladder. You don't need an MBA. So that you need to really prepare well and convince the panel. Try to convince the panel.
Yeah, correct. Because in my IIMK interview, they asked the same question, and
They'll ask this.
Yeah.
There's no escape.
Yeah.
There's no escape to this
Yeah.
question. Yes, Amit. Nilanjan, are you done?
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, Amit.
Yeah, hi everyone. Hi Anshul. This is Amit. Actually, I've applied for the R2 round and I'm just confused for the extempore round actually. Like what kind of sources we should refer while preparing for the extempore round? Should 1 year of current affairs suffice or maybe any generic topics like one can go through for the preparation?
Anyone want to pitch in an answer?
Hi, Anshul.
Yeah.
As far as the topics are concerned, if you see the last year's list of topics, I think apart from one or two, most of the topics, out of the 60 of topics that I had were very general. And the topic that I had was also very general. So it was basically in the lines of, do you think expenses are a burden on the company and they reduce the profitability? So the topics are very general. And I think whenever you are trying to answer an extempore, as I said before, just try to have points for and against it and take a balanced approach. You can never go too wrong with that approach. Because even if you end up missing something or the other, then you will be able to balance it out. So most of the people do end up taking the for or the against approach, but most of the people who do make it to IIM Ahmedabad, I've spoken to a lot of them. They've usually advocated a balanced or a hybrid approach.
Okay.
Just do that, and more or less the topics will be very general. And if you're not comfortable, then you have the option of taking the second sheet also, but then the topic sticks to you. So until and unless you feel that you cannot speak anything on the first topic, don't take the gamble. That is what I'd say.
I think I would second Swati here. In terms of this year, the extempore topics were really generic. I also had conversations with other candidates who appeared for the interviews, and I heard the same thing, that the extempore topics were really generic. So I think ChatGPT helped me a little bit here as well. Like if I you have to put the prompt specifically in the chat GPT, and it will give you some really controversial topics which you could actually prepare for. And the way you prompt it out is like for the extempore topics for a V school interview, it will give you the same. And I have a little contrary opinion here from Swati's, that taking a balanced opinion works, because to whoever I have talked to, they have always told me take either like the extremes. So it has worked for them. I I myself took a very middle ground last year. I took a balanced approach and they grilled me left, right, and center. So they are trying to see how well you stand your ground, and whoever I spoke to, the alums, the current students, they told me that no matter what, if you have your own points in place, if you're able to solidly justify those, I think that would work well. But yes, I was given the suggestion that on the extremes, it works really well, so that you are able to, put your opinion up front, and that is how you convince the professors that you also have an opinion of your own. So, yeah.
I think
Anshul, can I just add to it?
Yeah, please,
Just a
please
second.
add.
Yeah.
The panel
I think
discussion.
she's right to an extent, but it actually boils down to the kind of topic you have. Like if you have a very generic topic and you can have cons and pros of both, then I think a balanced approach is better. But then there are certain topics like, do you think globalization is a bane? Do you think we should only promote indigenous goods? So if a topic like this comes, you cannot take a balanced approach. You have to speak against it. But for a topic like mine, there are certain topics which can function both ways, and you cannot draw a very extreme approach. So I think it actually boils down to the topic. If you
Swati,
feel
I
a
have
topic
a
has both the elements, yeah.
I have a follow-up question to that. Sorry for interrupting you.
Mhm.
Even
Yeah.
even if the topic is something where you have to speak against it, will they
Huh.
still kind of oppose you while you are speaking against it? Will they still kind of try to sway it against you? Or-
नहीं, then उसमें पता है what you can do is a very simple way of changing your stance and get speaking against it is that I do feel strongly against it, but I can see merit in somebody who has a contrary point of view. Just in the last line, you can just say that even though this is your opinion, but you do respect that there can be a slight amount of different stand to it. So just stand your ground and last me cable. It cannot be 100% कि भैया हो ही नहीं सकता this thing. There is always something that the person can, because उस पे वो build करेंगे. So if अगर आप last time में just add this disclaimer, chances of brilliance are reduced.
Yeah, you are
But
right.
that again, it boils down to the point कि अगर topic बहुत general है ना, so you cannot take a very strong stand. If it is like, are you against LGBT? So you cannot say ना कि भैया no, I am against LGBT. Obviously, you have to take a stand. But there are certain topics which are very general. So उसमें you can take a balanced approach. So just see the topic. उसके बाद if whatever you speak, if you stand your ground, it's very cool.
Okay. That's great. Anyone else has to wants to pitch in and share his or her opinion? This is important point of discussions.
I think Anjul, I have just one point for
Yeah.
the topics, or like I think one part of Amit's question was where can he get the extempore topics as well. So there is a GMAT club thread going on
Yeah.
GMAT club.
Yeah.
Where there are past years topics. So I think you can use that as well.
I have
And
anyway shared it with everyone.
and
Yeah.
you can like use those topics and like use GPT to structure the answers. I think that should help.
Okay. Ria has asked a question to Rashri. As you mentioned that long and short-term goals are super important. In my application, I mentioned my long-term goal in a broader sense that I want to work at one of the top leading consultancies. Should I mention this in a broader sense or actually have more clarity on this that I want to work at McKinsey, BCG or Bain? Rashri, what do you want to answer?
I believe it might work in your favor to some extent in terms of you mentioning companies, but I would suggest, even did not mention any top companies
Yeah.
as such.
Yeah.
I also mentioned a very broad perspective on what is the role that I'm looking forward to in the future. If you mention companies, there will be, of course, like 100% cross questioning there in terms of how are you going to pave your way towards going into such companies, because these do not come to PGPX. So that you will have to be very, very reasonable, logical about how will you pave your way towards those firms if they are not coming here. So that, but in my opinion, keeping a broader sense would be good. If you would be asked in questions around the companies that you're targeting, then you can mention in the interviews that these are the ones that I'm targeting. So yeah.
Okay. Any other questions from anyone? Guys, if there are no questions, then we'll end the session. It's actually, I mean, at least these 6 people have full rights to celebrate Diwali because they have earned it by their hard work. So I'll leave them. But if you have any question, please ask in next 2 minutes. Little off topic. Are there any list of document items that needs to be carried? Rohan, please don't ask this here. ये सब group में पूछो ना. These are very generic things. Ask all these questions in the group. That's why we have made the group.
Hi, Anshul, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Riya.
So actually, I want to ask that how much time do you actually get for preparing for extempore, and can you also make notes on paper and like with a paper and a pen?
Yeah,
Yeah,
someone.
100%. Anshul, would you like to go forward with it, or should I
No,
answer?
please. No, please answer.
Okay. Okay, great. You definitely get a notepad and a paper. You can make quick notes. You get 30 seconds to decide after you've picked the first sheet. You get 30 seconds to decide whether you want to go ahead with this topic or you want to switch to the next one. And then when you have made your decision, then you get, I think, 1.5 to 1.5 minutes to jot down your points quickly on the piece of paper. But during the extempore, I tried to make notes of the things that they were speaking so that I have a clarity in my mind. But they definitely stopped me from using the notepad during the extempore because one of the alums suggested that even during the extempore you can use the notepad. But I think it depends from panel to panel in terms of you being allowed to use the notepad. But yes, for jotting down the points, yes, you do get that.
Okay. Yeah, Amit.
Yeah, I have a small question related to the application. Actually, I have mentioned that my post MBA goal is management consultant. So, will there be a chance that they might ask you regarding the specific working of a consultant in the industry, or maybe the case studies related to, whatever you have mentioned? So,
In
if anyone
my,
can.
as per my understanding, they do not ask case based. They do not ask you to solve a case. ISB might ask you. IIM Ahmedabad has not asked it. But Karan, did they ask you because you had written consulting? Did they ask anything case based?
No, nothing as such.
They don't ask case based.
Okay.
Hi Anshul, I think I would like to pitch in here. Like
Yeah.
even my post MBA goal is consulting, and like I used this as an example that I want to study at IIM Ahmedabad because of the case based approach that it has. It will help me align with my post MBA goal. So maybe this is how you can connect things because
Yeah, but this is not a
particularly
good answer, Ankit, because
uh,
every B school has a case based approach.
so like I tried to link it like that. This is how I'm going to work for my consulting or post MBA goal. So like then they stopped asking me like why consulting, why consulting? Because continuously they were asking that you are into operations and supply chain. Why do you want to move into consulting?
Okay.
Anshul, I think more importantly, I recall our mock interview, and you had asked me ki what are the qualities of a consultant that you're going to focus on or build while you're at the program. So I think if whatever goals people are looking at in the short term, you should try to link it how IIM Ahmedabad is going to help you achieve those goals, as well as the kind of skills that the program is going to help you build to achieve that
Yes.
short-term goal or that long-term goal. So it's very important to say if you're saying you want to get into consulting after IIM Ahmedabad, one, you should be knowing what are the skills you require to
Yes.
become an effective or a good consultant? And second, how is the program going to help you kind of, upskill and to kind of build on those skills to become a good consultant? So I think that's very important for it's a general tip for everyone. Your goals, you should know what are the skills you require and how the program is going to help you.
Yeah, so I have included this mapping thing in every interview now, either ISP or IIM Ahmedabad, where I'm asking everyone to make a list of skills that they already have, make a list of skills that they want to gain from the MBA, maybe ISP or IIM Ahmedabad, and then map all these skills that you do not have but you want to gain with the activities that you would pursue in the B school, which will help you to gain these skills. This will close the loop of why MBA. So it is very, very important. People who are sitting, who will be going for interviews very soon for IIM Ahmedabad and ISP, please learn how to close this loop. Learn how to close the loop of, hey, these are the skill gaps I have, and hey, these are the activities I am looking to do, or these are the things that I'm looking to gain from an MBA, which will help me to gain these skills, and eventually I'll gain these skills, and I will get to my post MBA goal. Closing this loop with full clarity is very important. So I have those who have already taken the diagnostic mock with me, either for ISB or IIM Ahmedabad. I have asked this question to everyone, and I have also explained how to answer this question. Okay, great. Anyone else? We don't have any time limit. Uditi, you are messaging me, and in the group, you can unmute and ask whatever you want to. Yeah, this is a democratic session. You can feel.
Yeah.
Huh.
No, I mentioned in the chat the question. I wanted to know some of the extempore topics that IIM Ahmedabad has.
Yeah. So you can first access the Google this thing, GMAT club ka thread. IIM Ahmedabad Extempore topics. If you Google, you will find a thread on GMAT club. That is the first source. Second, all of you, can you just unmute and tell your extempore topics? Some of you have already shared, but you can just repeat for everyone. We don't know. They might repeat some of the topics in round 2.
Hey Anshul, my topic is on sustainability over profitability.
Over profitability, yeah. Others, please share.
Anshul, my topic was, is it important to have stricter regulatory control on businesses and their functionings in the country? So there can be one aspect ki regulatory control hona chahiye, but my topic was, should it be stricter? So that's how it was kind of different from a generic topic.
Okay. Rashi?
Yes, so my topic was women need more mentorship than men.
What?
Yeah, women need more mentorship than men. It was a full like a 50-word passage
That's
that I
even
was given.
offensive to ask.
No wonder you could not take a balanced approach.
Oh yeah, you cannot take a balance. How will you take balanced
You
approach?
cannot take a balanced approach in this topic.
That is what the took from my experience.
This is offensive.
Yeah,
Even
yeah,
having this topic is offensive.
this is very offensive. But I can trust IIM Ahmedabad to do this. IIM Ahmedabad has insulted people, as Rashi mentioned. In 2 years ago, they asked one of my candidates, "Oh, you are answering. ये तो answer आपके consultant ने आपको रटा दिया है. अब आप असली answer बताओ."
Difficult to say it, no?
No. This happened with a friend of mine from Hyderabad. He
Syed.
eventually converted.
Achha,
Not
okay.
Syed. Ah, Syed ko bhi they did
Okay.
that. Syed ko bhi they did that. And then they did that 2 years ago also to someone.
Achha.
Okay. Who else? Ankit, you want to share your topic?
My topic was that is the concern around AI that it will take the jobs valid or reasonable.
Atul has left the call. So who else? Swati, what was your topic?
My topic was expenses should be minimized because they reduce the profitability of a company.
Okay.
And I took a balanced approach because it requires things.
Okay. Any other questions? Otherwise, I'll end the call. We have already spent 1.5 hours. Okay. If there are no questions, thanks a lot. And I would request, please share your feedback in the group if you have attended. So that, because I'm doing it for the first time, a kind of round table thing. If you think this was useful, I will do it again with other people. Maybe for ISB we will do it. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.